Hey guys, welcome back to another installment of my 1970s series of the week, which I know it's been longer than a week since I did my last one, but just a lot going on, doctor's visits and so forth. But anyway, got a series that I really loved as a kid, kind of near and dear to my heart. You know, I was always a big fan of Justice League of America, and every summer they would have the annual crossover with the Justice Society. So that was like the highlight, you know, comic-wise for me every year. And when this title came out in '76, I never had seen these characters before. And this was before I really got heavy into buying back issues and so forth. But anyway, book I'm talking about is Freedom Fighters. It ran for 15 issues from March '76 to August '78. And actually, this is not the first appearance. Of course, you know, most people know that DC acquired the rights to all the old quality characters like, you know, Uncle Sam and the Ray and Black Condor and Phantom Lady. And then, of course, that included, you know, Plastic Man and the Black Hawks and all that. But they didn't really use them until this book came out. Now, the first appearance, like I say, was in a JLA book, number 107. This was 2 to 3 years earlier with the annual JSA team-up. And this is the first time that they were ever all together in one book and actually called the Freedom Fighters. Now, there had been, you know, some reprints of like old Doll Man stories and Black Condor and the Ray and so on, like probably in those old Detective 100 pagers. But this is like the first, you know, I guess current or modern age appearance when they teamed up with the JLA and JSA. Of course, I didn't get this book until, you know, a couple years after I got these, so it was really a treat to get this one. This issue number 1. Now, the first 4, 5, 6 issues probably had like a rotating creative team as far as writers and artists. I think around issue 7 it kind of settled in till the end of the run. But I just love these characters, and I love this cover. It's Ernie Chan, and it's got the really nice black background, which is tough to find in high grade. This is a really nice copy here, but a great Ernie Chan cover. I'm sure the reason they put this first DC issue is like, you know, so nobody would be confused with it being belonging to quality anymore, I guess. That's just a guess. But great little story. They migrate from their Earth, and this is like, you know, where I loved all the multiple Earth concept. But their Earth was called Earth X originally. So after the JLA and the JSA helped them defeat the Nazis that had won World War II on their Earth, they migrated to Earth 1, you know, when Earth 1 still existed. I'm not sure what's going on now because I'm not really keeping up. But a great story. Introduces kind of a funky little villain called the Silver Ghost, and I think he had a big henchman called King Samson. And but it was a really cool story. Like I said, got a great cover. I think probably had Jerry Conway and Martin Pascoe doing the scripts. And Rick Estrada, which I'm not a fan of Estrada's work, but Mike Royer inked him. So, you know, Royer can make anybody look good. And I think actually he did the inking. Yeah, well, actually, I think Estrada did the layouts. Royer did the finishes and then did the inking on this one. So, number 1. Now, just to show you, the first issue that I bought was number 2. Okay, and I just love the book. And this is my original of number 2 that I've kept all these years. And as I always say, it is well loved. And when a friend of mine at school, this is probably 5th grade, if I remember right, I told him, you know, I loved this book and all that. And well, he came to school with issue number 1 rolled up in his back pocket. And I think I bought it from him for $0.10. This is my original. And yeah, it sure looks like somebody had it rolled up in their back pocket, but just for nostalgic reasons, I keep it just beat to hell, but But anyway, here's a high grade issue number 2. Got a great Dick Giordano cover, and got the villain, the Silver Ghost. Really nice grade. And I think Jerry Conway did the scripts. Pablo Marcos, which he didn't really do a whole lot of superhero stuff, but I always loved it when he did. But just because I don't know. I was a fan of Marcos anyway, but when he did superheroes, it was a real treat. And I think he was inked by Tex Blaisdell in this one. So you got Giordano and Marcos and Blaisdell. Number 2. Okay, number 3, another Dick Giordano cover. This is one of those DC Salutes the Bicentennial covers. And they're going against a villain called Scrag. Not really sure. I think he was just a one-off villain. I think Martin Pascoe did the scripts, and Ramona Ferdon, I think this is the first of like 3 or 4 issues that she did. Of course, everybody knows Ferdon from her stuff like on Aquaman and Metamorpho, Plastic Man, Super Friends, a lot of that great stuff. Kind of had almost like an animated style. But I think in this one, I think Vince Colletta might have inked her, unfortunately. I'm thinking. But the inker, I think, was actually credited to someone named Juan Canali, which I don't think the guy actually existed because there's no other mention of any other comic credits that he ever did. But I think there's a couple of DC guys that verified that Colletta didn't ink this issue, and or inked most of it. They said he didn't ink all of it, but he inked most of it, and said if you would have talked to him, said he would probably took credit for inking all of it. So I don't know. Anyway, issue number 3. Go issue number 4. Guest starring Wonder Woman, another great Ernie Chan cover. I think Aquaman makes a cameo in this one. I've read this series over and over. I think Pascoe did the scripts, and like I say, Ramona Ferdon and Vince Colletta on the art. Issue 5, this is one of many covers that Rich Buckler did. Again, guest starring Wonder Woman. I think this is Buckler and Colletta. Yeah. So the end of that story. And this is one of the many books. People that read DC back in the 70s, they had these little ads that were called Justice for All Includes Children. And if I can find it, I think this is one of them. But it was like a little one-page ad, and I think it was Neil Adams' art, matter of fact. But more Ramona Ferdon art on the inside, and Vince Colletta. Of course, you had the Hostess Fruit Pie and Twinkie ads. That's probably Green Lantern drawn by Kurt Swan, I think. Find the Justice for Children thing. Here's one advertised in the Saturday cartoons. I'm sure you've all remember these. Some Neil Adams art in here, as you can tell. And here's the Justice for Children thing by Neil Adams. I always thought that was kind of cool. So, issue number 5. Okay, issue number 6. It's another Buckler and Colletta cover. I think Bob Rozakis, or Rozakis, however you pronounce his name, started doing the scripts on these. And more Ramona Ferdon art. And I think Bob Smith inked this one. And I do believe this is another one of those Rutland, Vermont stories. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. Kind of where DC and Marvel crossed over a little bit. They would always have like a Halloween parade in Rutland, Vermont, and you would see like vague versions of the other company's characters in this one. I'm not sure what the monster was in this one. Can't remember. Okay, issue 7, covered by Buckler and Jack Abel, where they're going against the Doom Dolls of the Justice League of America. I think there was like a little villain in it. He was like a Toyman character, and had like made these little robot Justice Leaguers to fight the Freedom Fighters for some reason. And this is like a continuation of the Rutland, Vermont story, and there was a group showed up called the Crusaders. And what's funny about that, a little interesting story, around the time this story was going on, there was another group called the Crusaders that appeared in Invaders number 14 and 15 in Marvel, and they looked a whole lot like the Freedom Fighters. So that was a cool little tale. This is like the second part of it. So instead of like Captain America and Bucky and the Human Torch and Toro and Submariner, you had Americommando and the Barracuda, Rusty instead of Bucky, and then you had I guess Human Torch was called Fireball and Sparky, and then at the same time there was a Crusaders team showing up in the Invaders that looked like the Freedom Fighters. So kind of cool little story there. Here's number 9, never colored by Buckler and Abel. Same, I think pretty much the same creative team as all the way through the end of this series. So I won't get into that. But you had the Crusaders going to go against the Freedom Fighters. And I mentioned in the first couple of issues that it had a villain called the Silver Ghost. Well, the Americommando was found out to be the Silver Ghost, and he had given powers to comic book fans who were at that I guess Halloween parade, and they turned them into villains, basically. So okay, have issue 10. Another Buckler and Abel cover, I guess starring Catman, an old Batman villain, actually, I think. And I think you have a retelling of the Doll Man's origin in this one. Number 11, against the deadly demonic, the Renegades. Some kind of Native American villain group. Not very PC, but you know, got the origin of the Ray retold in this one. If there was anything else, I think they had a cameo of a Firebrand, another turned out to be a Golden Age character that joined the team, I think, in the next issue. Anybody that's read All-Star Squadron and a lot of the stuff Roy Thomas wrote, Firebrand was a character in the All-Star Squadron. And this one, the guy, actually, his name was Rod Riley, or Rod O'Reilly. And later on, his sister, Danette, became Firebrand. For all you history buffs. And there you have when Firebrand became part of the team. Same writer and artist team. And I think actually Alfredo Alcala inked this one, but under a pseudonym named Christian Volt for some reason. Not sure why. But I'll take anything that's got Alcala in it. And I think this has got Firebrand's origin in it. Okay, number 13. More of the same. Half the Freedom Fighters are turned into monsters. Another really cool cover with a black background. Pretty nice grade. I've actually got all the original copies that I bought when I was a kid. I hadn't seen it since it's shown. I already showed you what the first two look like, so they're pretty much the same. But you have a, I think you have a cameo. No, that's next issue I'm thinking about. yeah. Number 14, The Sideshows of Doom, and special guest stars Batgirl and Batwoman. Now, this is the Silver Age Batwoman, Kathy Kane and Barbara Gordon. Pretty cool little story. And it goes into the last issue. I think this is Alex Saviuk and Frank Giacoya on the cover. I'm not really sure how I pronounce his name, but he did a lot of stuff for DC in the later 70s and early 80s. Now this story, this is one of the victims of the DC implosion. This book got canceled, and in the story it leaves you hanging because it was actually supposed to conclude in Secret Society of Supervillains, which is another series I'm getting ready to do soon. Number 16, and the Society of Supervillains only lasted 15 issues too, so that was part of that canceled comics cavalcade. And I've actually got the Xeroxes of that story somewhere, but they actually reprinted it in a Secret Society of Supervillains hardback, I think, or a trade. But it was just like black and white art, and it wasn't that good. But the end of this story was actually supposed to be in that book, so it was like the Freedom Fighters against the Silver Ghost and the Secret Society of Supervillains, plus they teamed up with some members of the JSA. So there you go, the Saga of the Freedom Fighters. Cool little title. I mean, if you like Golden Age characters or, you know, team books. Yeah, so there you are. Appreciate you guys watching. Hope you're having a great week. And I will see you soon. Onward and upward.